Hey everybody, I'm Zach. Welcome to the Broken Spectrum, where if variety is the spice of life, then I'm the CEO of McCormick. Today, we look at a quick comparison between the Mandalorians and the Mandalorian and his clan, and try to conclude if this Mandalorian has the same tenacity as his ancestors. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So we'll go into the Neo Crusader Mandalorians. They were called the Neo Crusaders during the time of the Old Republic by Mandalore the Ultimate, who united all the clans into invading the Republic. It was a Sith order, or a vision rather, that tricked the Mandalorian into believing that they could win and conquer the galaxy. So Mandalore gathered all the clans around the universe, or around the galaxy I should say, and combine them into one massive army, including a massive fleet as well as every planet that they conquered. The people that were living on there had a choice of either dying or joining the Mandalorian cause. So with the Neo Crusaders, and being during their time, this is when the galaxy was filled with Jedi and Sith and bounty hunters and rogues and everything you can think of. So the Mandalorians had plenty of choices to go around when it came to recruiting, and during the Neo Crusade time, they weren't very particular about who joined their ranks as long as they could fight, and fight honorably. They tried to spare most of the artisans and farmers as much as they could, as long as they supported their crusade. They did have an honor code that was mainly based out of how strong the enemy was. If the enemy was using sneak tactics and stealth, stuff that wasn't face to face, and using their strength, they were deemed unworthy. So therefore, if they showed any kind of weakness like that, or any kind of pacifism, this insulted the Mandalorians, and they would take action into exterminating, well, the weakness, to put it bluntly. The type of armor that they had was made out of a material called Beskar. It was also known as Mandalorian iron. The iron itself could be used for armor, and it's usually can be mixed with another type that's found in the Star Wars universe called Durasteel. And many other different irons and metals were usually combined with the Beskar if it was in small supplies, so that way it would have the same kind of resiliency. The reason that Beskar was so important to the Neo Crusaders was because it was the only substance that could block a lightsaber except for being impaled. So that way, if the Mandalorians ever fought a Jedi, or anyone with a lightsaber for that matter, their armor would block the lightsaber, but if they got impaled, that's a different story. But I digress. What they wanted out of life more than anything was glory, but glory out of winning a great battle. And even at the end of the Mandalorian Wars, which was probably one of the bloodiest and greatest battles for the Mandalorians, even though they lost that battle, they saw it to be the greatest war to get glory from. That even though they lost, they held on to the fact that they had many victories over certain planets, or certain they've killed a number of Jedi, or they killed or destroyed many Republic ships, that kind of thing. They look for their glory in the power that they emanate in battle. By the way, keep in mind that the Republic was in the Great Sith War prior to the Mandalorian Wars, which is where these Neo Crusaders were fighting the most in. So they were already beating on a Republic that had many casualties, that they were also financially in ruin from the previous war because they had to rebuild and open up trade through different planets so that planets could help refund the restoration project of the Republic. In these different wars, the Mandalorians used a variety of weapons, ranging from their own personal blasters, from pistols to rifles, sabers to vibro swords and vibro blades, so that it could deflect lightsabers as well as take out Republic soldiers quick, as well as use their own strength to beat them down. They had machines that conquered many worlds just from the sheer size and weaponry on them that no Republic force had stood a chance against. This is where most of the victory comes in for the Mandalorians, because they relied on not just their strength and their brutal tactics, but as well as the type of machinery and technology that they had in their hands. So that was also stolen from the Sith War that the Sith used, as well as the Republic itself. That's just a quick look into the Mandalorians of the Old Republic. Now, let's look at the Mandalorian. So this guy is an interesting Mandalorian. From what I've seen so far, which at this point in time, they're already be up to chapter 4 in the series. But seeing this Mandalorian puts things in a new light. It shows us a Mandalorian that obviously is a bounty hunter, is part of a clan of different Mandalorians that are bounty hunters themselves, that are trying to, if not doing their best, to cling to the old ways of honor and tradition. And that holds true to the Mandalorians of old. It seems, because after the war was over with, in the Old Republic version, the Mandalorians became bounty hunters and bodyguards of different corporations and gang members, whatever that gave them the most action, that allowed them to hold a blaster again. And the Mandalorian, the pace changes a little bit when you finally see that you have a ruthless Mandalorian that is going to do a job, will let nothing stand in his way of his bounty or of any mission that he's on, and doesn't take crap from anybody. That being said, we see a side of him that contradicts the Mandalorians of the Old Republic, and that's his caring side. Strange, to be sure, but that's not saying that the other Mandalorians didn't care. It's the fact that they were more ruthless and bloodthirsty when it came to war, and to make sure that they won the battle at all costs, and that sacrifices were going to happen, and that they needed to be made in order for victory. This Mandalorian doesn't do everything he needs to win the battle. He does everything he needs to do to survive. As to if that regurgitates into him caring for his clan, that's another thing. But he does have a soft spot for children. And if you haven't seen the show on Disney Plus, I highly recommend it, because you'll see what I mean when I say that he cares a lot about children. Now, it's also for the women we don't know yet. Still pretty early on in the show, and I know I'm only going off of so much information, but the Mandalorian has shown that he obviously has a sarcastic attitude. His moral compass is questionable at best, just from how he handles certain discreditable people in a bar. But the main thing to look at is how he holds himself as a Mandalorian, because he claims he is a Mandalorian. Weapons are his religion. He must always hold on to his weapons. He must get the bounty done at all costs. That's his prime thing, and that's great. But he doesn't, to me anyway, it doesn't look like he has the bloodthirst of his ancestors. And I feel like that weakness will come out later on in the story, where he'll try to, have a soft spot for things, and I think it's going to get him in trouble. And I think that's how he's going to learn the hard way. And that might be because of how he was raised, or the trauma that he grew up with when he became a foundling. And that's understandable. At the same time, though, I think that leaves something to be desired from this Mandalorian. Now, granted, I know that this is on a Disney show, but we can still see him knock some heads together and get brutal with his killings, and we can call him that. It doesn't matter if it's Disney Plus or not. The man chopped a guy in half using a door, so it's not impossible to have him really go at it, whether it's by using his strength or his weaponry, as we've seen with him with the Jawas, or dealing with a bunch of other scum in the galaxy. Getting right to it, though, because I digress a lot on this, he is post-Empire. The Empire has fallen. Luke Skywalker blew up the second Death Star. his father is dead, the Emperor is dead, and the Empire has many stragglers. So with that, we know his personality already. We know that he can be ruthless, but has a caring heart to a degree. He uses his armor is like the Mandalorian. It uses Beskar and a bit of a Durasteel material, and he uses basically the same format as Jango and Boba. Has a grappler, flamethrower, carries a rifle on his back, a pistol at his side, and a knife, just in case. Whereas the old Mandalorians of the Old Republic would use pretty much any weapon. I mean, they had their own weapons, but they would use any weapon. This Mandalorian has a set loadout. And the best that they can do is get him armor of his ancestors. And that'll have to suffice for the rest of us. But I feel like there's going to be a lot to be desired from him. We haven't seen a lot from his past or what kind of Mandalorian he wants to be or can be. But for right now, it looks like he's ruthless to a certain point on his compass, and then you start seeing more of a caring side of him that was introduced pretty early, if you guys have seen the show. So my conclusion on the two so far for the Old Mandalorians versus the Mandalorian is that the Neo Crusader Mandalorians still run top dog in this matchup. Not really much more in a fight, but just in comparison on how they handle themselves. The other one can handle himself, but it looks like he's prone to get into sticky situations and puts a lot of trust in someone who should have a much more checkered past. So, like I said, we'll see what happens. And with that, thank you so much for listening to The Broken Spectrum. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button, like button, and send a comment down below on your opinion on the matter. And if you want to follow us on social media, those will be in the description box below. Also, huge shout out to Emerald for helping me get these videos together. Without him, this would not be possible. So, go check him out, subscribe to him, and recently he's been working on some music. So here, I'll give you a listen. Sounds pretty awesome, right? So go check him out, and like I said, subscribe down below, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.